The next vulnerability we're going to look for is CSRF, short for cross-site request forgery. So what is CSRF? A CSRF vulnerability allows an attacker to perform an action on a victim's behalf without them knowing it. The difference between CSRF and XSS is that you can't actually steal any data, but you can just force the user to perform some action without them knowing that it happened. So again, this could be changing password, this could be transferring money. It's an action, but you can't actually steal data from it. You can't see anything in return. You can just have them do some stuff because of the way that the application works. So let's look at an example. Think about having an address field where you go to your user profile, you want to change your email address, you see a box like the one on the screen, it says new email address, you type it in, you push submit. An attacker can actually force a user to do this thing without them knowing, but you can't actually see what's in that email address bar already. With XSS, you have the ability to write JavaScript, and within JavaScript, you can tell the application to perform separate things or actually pull data and send it back to your server. So if you're proficient in JavaScript, an XSS could be very, very valuable to you, versus a CSRF, you can only change data, and that's about it. So again, if you put in the email address field, if they don't actually have some sort of random CSRF token or CSRF protection, then the attacker could force the user to change the email address. So a CSRF doesn't have to always necessarily be within a form. This could also be actions that are done within a GET request. These are not typically common, but I've also seen some of applications still rely on this method to move data around. So let's think about a bank, for example, where it's using buy.php. It's saying, hey, I want you to transfer money from this wallet, this amount, and this type Bitcoin, and we can swap out the wallet for the attacker's wallet where the money gets transferred to them instead. So again, that's one example. What we can do here is on a website that the attacker is controlling, we can put an image tag or a hyperlink where as soon as the victim visits it or clicks on that link, it performs that action for us. When we're within a form, what we have to do, instead of a link or an image tag, we actually have to recreate that form, and as soon as the user clicks on it, that action is performed. And all this will make sense once we do our lab and our practice examples, but for now, let's just stick to the example we have on the screen. In some cases, you may see that a website has some sort of a CSRF protection, some token. It could be either reused, it could be random. You just have to understand how that protection mechanism works. So in a lot of cases, what I have seen is that a lot of applications define a CSRF token. A CSRF token is some sort of a signature, something that says, hey, this token belongs to this user. As long as this token is there, no other user can use it, and that confirms that this action is actually intended by the user that it's making it. So think of it as a signature that says, hey, I am this user, here's my signature, I want to perform this action. But what I've seen in a lot of cases is that either one, that token or the signature, whatever you want to call it, could be reused. So you can have the token from user A be used on user B and actually allows you to exploit it. So all you have to do is make sure you get a valid token, you swap it out, you send it to the victim clicks on the form, on the link or whatever it is, and the action performs. The other one that I've seen in a lot of cases is, even though there is a CSRF token in the URL, if you completely remove the entire parameter, it still works. It's just there to make it look like there's a protection while it actually doesn't do anything. So for example, in this one, we want to say, hey, the form we're going after is located on buy.php and expects the method post. There's going to be a bunch of different parameters and values that it's expecting, like wallet, it's expecting the amount, it's expecting type, it's expecting a CSRF token, as in this example, we've identified that we can reuse it. And also it is a button that says submit, and you click here to win. The attacker created this, and the victim just clicks on it. And as soon as they click on it, it performs that action and sends all this information to this buy.php using a post request. This is something that I've seen on some web applications. It's not very, very common, but a lot of times the encoding or the way they create these signatures are easily guessable. So in this example, if you actually decode the string that's on the screen starting in E3, it's a base 64 that's encoded into the user ID, whereas user ID 44. So you just have to understand how this CSRF token mechanism works, how they're protecting against it, and how can you actually break it. In some cases, you may be successful. In others, you may not have the best luck.